by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
I'm Danielle Nottingham in San Bruno, California, where authorities are trying to figure out why a woman opened fire at YouTube's headquarters.
I'm Midair Stab, and later on I'll tell you about a new city program that allows you to see when your house was built.
Good morning. Coming up on 6:31 here on your Wednesday. This morning, law enforcement investigators are still trying to figure out the motive behind a deadly shooting at the YouTube headquarters in Northern California.
Police say the shooter is a woman from San Diego who opened fire in an outdoor courtyard, wounding 3 people before killing herself. Her father tells CBS News that he tried to warn police that she could be dangerous. CBS's Danielle Nottingham is outside YouTube campus in San Bruno with the latest.
They heard 7 to 8 shots being fired. This will be from the YouTube building.
San Bruno police have identified this woman, 39-year-old Nasim Agdam, as the person who opened fire, shooting 3 people before killing herself at YouTube's headquarters yesterday afternoon.
Gunfire at YouTube. I've been calling 911. We heard like boom, boom, and everybody kind of looked up and didn't know what it was.
Agdam's father tells CBS News his daughter, an animal rights activist who frequently used YouTube for her cause, was having problems with the video sharing service.
I'm being discriminated and filtered on YouTube, and I'm not the only one.
Agdam's father says she went missing for a few days, and when police found her near the company's headquarters, he warned them she might try to cause trouble there. Police say the shooting, carried out with a 9mm handgun, took place inside a courtyard here at YouTube. Officers responded within 2 minutes.
They identified one victim at the front door, main entrance of the building. They checked on that person, and YouTube employees, to their credit, helped us by standing by with that person so the officers could immediately enter to go search for the threat.
Police say there is no evidence to suggest Agdam knew any of the victims or that any of them was specifically targeted. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, San Bruno, California.
Now, a spokesman for San Francisco General Hospital told CBS News that it's received 3 patients, 1 man in critical condition, 2 women, 1 who's in serious, the other currently listed in fair condition.
Checking out some other news this morning, Montana regulators are preparing additional adjustments to the rules for the state medical marijuana program. The Department of Public Health and Human Services filed proposed new rules of the Secretary of State's office for review. They will be made public in the next few weeks. Once the review is finished, they will then have to go back through public comment before being implemented. The Department of Health and Human Resources created new rules this year to implement a law that extensively reformed the medical marijuana system. Now, those rules are scheduled to go into effect next week. Leaders have said the proposed changes will address some concerns about the initial rules, including a rule that would allow providers 50 square feet of growing space for every patient they serve.
Well, it may be April, but with cold temperatures and snowstorms, it certainly does not feel like spring. But those who make their living based on the weather are familiar with this kind of situation. Jerry Cashman, owner of Cashman Nursery, says that no spring planting should begin until Mother's Day. Cashman says they saw a lot less customers last month than they did last year at this time, but the nursery isn't worried too much about the drop in customers because the rush of customers varies from year to year.
Now, to compare this year to last year isn't really fair. If we compared this year to 2 years ago, we might be about the same. So it's just that last year and 3 years ago were early years, 2 years ago and this year are late years.
By the way, the one flower that people can start planting towards the end of April is going to be sweet peas. Cashman says that he's had people coming in to buy those, and I would guess at least one of them was Donna Kelly.
I'm assuming
every year she fills the newsroom with her sweet peas, so I would guess that would
they are pretty hardy. I mean, for as delicate as they seem, you can get them in the ground.
Yeah, but I'd still like to see my lawn before I start thinking about planting flowers. So.
I saw it briefly the other day.
Yeah, it was there momentarily.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's covered now. So.
We get a thought out today?
We'll try. Temperatures this morning into, I like your crossed fingers there. Temperatures are going to be on the milder side. We're above freezing right now, so we'll call it a thaw. I don't know that you'll get all the snow out of your yard yet, but the potential is there as milder temperatures are starting to move in, at least for a short time. Temperatures today into the 40s. Isolated rain showers trying to work their way back in. Yes, rain. but that will be quickly followed by snow. We're, of course, going to break down your complete forecast from the Billion Auto Weather Patio coming up in just a couple of minutes.
6:35, the City of Bozeman taking steps to ensure the city is prepared for the future. A new $10,000 grant will help with some of those plans. The grant was given to the city through the Sustainable Cities Institute. Now, between Bozeman's population growth and climate change, Mayor Cindy Andrus applied for the grant to make sure the city staff and residents are ready for just about anything, whether it be drought or earthquake. Mayor Andrus says that focusing on resiliency is important for the community and part of the planning process.
I think there are some of these extreme events that are beginning to happen, and the conversation is now about how our communities dealing with these big events, because we've had so many of them now across the country.
We're told a portion of that grant will also go to hosting a summit that will bring residents and city staff together to create a better understanding of resiliency. Mayor Andrus says that she expects the event will take place sometime in the fall.
And the City of Bozeman recently released a map on its website that lists all the different historic homes. MTN's Medeiros Babb shows us how those residents can find out when their home was built.
And there's no other neighborhood that can do what this neighborhood does. It's one of a kind.
John Gerster has owned the Lurkind Mansion for over 20 years. He says it was built in 1887. It was a house, but now is a bed and breakfast.
People do seek us out because they like the history. She's a beautiful old Queen Anne Victorian. So there are elements of that really appeal to history buffs.
Bozeman History Museum's Rachel Phillips says a lot of citizens come to them to find out about their house.
They seem to want a connection to their home or their building's past.
The city has created a map on its website just for this reason. The map shows 10 different historic districts and over 2,000 buildings within the city. Citizens can click on different houses to see when they were built and if they are considered historic. This building behind me, which was built in 1904, is not only recognized as a state historical building, but nationally as well. Historic preservation specialist Phil Gonzalez says the tool will become more advanced as time goes on.
That information will remain there even as structures kind of come and go. It really kind of creates a history of the historic built environment within the city.
When we crawl into the minds of the past through the structures that they lived in, then it helps ground us. It gives us a sense of not only place, but a sense of who we are as people.
Gerster says it is important that the Bozeman community bands together to appreciate and preserve the past to make a brighter future. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
Now you are able to find this map at bozeman.net under the Government tab.
Very cool. Also, another cool story. For the first time in state history, Montana will be represented in the world's VEX robotic competition. Students representing the Treasure State are from Bozeman High School and Sacagawea Middle School. The students have built and programmed their own robots for the competition, and that's in Louisville, Kentucky. The robots will have to perform a task in a certain amount of time. This year, students had to program the robot to stack and move cones. Each member of the robotics team worked on the robot that's going to Worlds. 8 members from both the high school team and the middle school team will be attending the competition, something they say they never thought would happen, certainly not at the beginning of the season.
Really taught us a lot of how we work together and who we are and what we do, and yeah.
But we had no idea we were going to go to Worlds.
Yeah, it's just complete shock. You won, you're going to Worlds.
That was awesome.
Really?
Awesome. It is awesome. By the way, the World Competition begins on April 25th. Robotics teams needs to raise about $30,000, so all the members can attend that cost-free. There are a list of different ways you can help with their fundraising, and that's listed, of course, on our website.
That just makes me want to do the robot a little bit. The History Channel is calling the discovery 1 in 100 million. The skeleton of a baby T-Rex, one of the most preserved and complete ever found, unearthed right here in Montana at Hell Creek Formation. Researchers and students at the University of Kansas recovered the fossilized remains of the dinosaur, which likely lived about 66 million years ago. Researchers at the University of Kansas say the young T-Rex is rare, only a few being found over the years. Now, without much to compare it to, it can be difficult for researchers to determine what exactly they found.
This is the first bone we found in the skull. It was actually this ridge right here, and we started working into the outcrop and we started to uncover teeth. What's fantastic about this specimen is like every tooth position is filled not only by a functioning working tooth, but also by replacement teeth.
Now, according to the University of Kansas, just like humans, dinosaurs' body changed as it grew, and it can also be difficult to determine what changes may be due to that growth and which differences reflect a different species altogether. The fossils are currently being analyzed, and a full report is expected in the next few months.
They said 1 in 100 million. I want to correct that, 1 to 66 million years. And we needed to correct the numbers.
That's good. That's good. Nice. We'll take it. We stand corrected. There you go. Stick around. After a short break, we take a look at the testing of small SUVs, the top vehicles with the best safety marks. That's just ahead.
But first, let's check in with John Dickerson for a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, we're in Northern California with new details about the woman who opened fire at YouTube headquarters. And 50 years after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, memories from a choir that sang for him 2 weeks before he died. James Brown will bring us the remarkable story as he leads our coverage of today's commemoration in Memphis. See you at 7.